Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Did you know that there's some benefits that have a provision within them for capturing repayment of services or supplies or training or other aspects of that specific benefit? Well, guess what? Apparently there is. I was not aware of this specifically until I happened to stumble upon it. And I'm glad I did. This is not a news article. This is not some other publication pushing this information out. This is actually digging and finding and looking and reading, right? So this is a rule that was put in by the Veterans Affairs Department, or the Department of Veterans Affairs, in December of 2023 to make a change to this rule. Now, this is important because we have what it is currently versus what it will be. And in this case, it might be actually better, but awareness is always the key. So with that, I'm going to jump into it. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. The two asks are really hitting that thumbs up, letting the video run helps to put this into the hands of others. I did also start a co-hosted channel. Love for you to check it out. It's called Veterans Daily, and I'll try to drop that little link thing somewhere. All right, so let's jump into it. The headline, even though it's not really a news article, but the information here, this is put on the National Archives website at the Federal Register, and it is the journal of the government, right? It's showing different actions by different agencies and so forth. So I found this rule by the VA from December of last year, 2023, and the headline or whatever for it is VA Veterans Readiness and Employment Program. So that's V-R-and-E, the V-R-and-E program, which, by the way, pays out a monthly stipend if you get accepted into that program to bridge your gap to different employment, right? Often it involves education, so typically you'll end up getting a bachelor's or even a master's. I know people that have received their master's through that program, but the bottom line is you also get that stipend while you're going through the program. So anyway, the VA Veteran Readiness and Employment Program, and then it says removal of regulation regarding repayment of training and rehabilitation supplies. So when I first read that, I thought to myself, wow, really? So that means that currently there is a regulation within VRNE for repayment of training and rehabilitation supplies. Now, I'm sure you have to screw up or something and then have to pay this back, but look, I went through the program. I went through VRNE and obtained my bachelor's that way, and I don't remember ever hearing anything about, hey, look, if you don't do X or Y, you have to repay anything. So it's kind of curious that, I had to stumble upon it to figure it out. So this is, again, a rule by the Veterans, it says Veterans Affairs Department on 12/5/2023. I'm going to read through it here and see if we can pick out any nuggets, see kind of what it is today versus what it is going to look like. So the summary is the Department of Veterans Affairs is removing a regulation that addresses the circumstances under which the circumstances under which a veteran is to repay the value of training and rehabilitation supplies and the exceptions where repayment is not required. Okay, so that's very interesting to me because this is proposing to change it, which means it already is in existence that you would have to repay if X or Y happens. So let's move on. A prior version of this regulation's authorizing statute contained a provision that permitted VA to require the return or repayment of books, supplies, or equipment if a veteran failed to complete a course of vocational rehabilitation due to fault on their part. So if you were the one who screwed up, right? However, because the authorizing statute no longer contains that provision, and because there is no statutory authority allowing VA to require reimbursement of books, supplies, and equipment under any circumstances where a veteran fails to complete a course of vocational rehabilitation, VA is removing the governing regulation. Okay, great. So looks like they caught that they have no statutory authority to recoup any of those funds, regardless of if it's your fault or not. And because they don't have any sort of statutory authority, they're going to remove the language from their own, book of rules, we'll call it. So let's move on, see if we can pick out anything else. This final rule is effective December 5th, 2023. So they went ahead and corrected that. So my question here is, there may be one of you out there who had failed a class and VA came back and recaptured funds from you for that. The question then is, when did the authority cease? Because it is prior to December 5th, and that would be something that I would look into. So for further information, you can contact Loraine Spangler, the policy analyst at Veterans Readiness and Employment Services, and her phone number is 202-461-9600, and her email is Loraine, Loraine, Spangler, Spangler @va.gov, and I will put that in the description of the video as well. So supplementary information. The purpose of this rulemaking is to remove 38 CFR 21.222, release of and repayment for training and rehabilitation supplies, because it no longer supported by statutory authority. Section 21.222 sets forth the circumstances under which a veteran is to repay the value of training and rehabilitation supplies when the veteran fails to complete a rehabilitation program as planned. Section 21.222 also limits or lists numerous exceptions where VA will not require reimbursement from the veteran, including when the failure to complete the program is not the veteran's fault. A prior version of this regulation authorizing statute provided that any books, supplies, or equipment furnished a veteran under this chapter shall be deemed released to the veteran, except if, because of fault on the veteran's part, the veteran fails to complete the course of vocational rehabilitation. The veteran may be required by the administrator to return any and all such books, supplies, or equipment not actually expended, or to repay reasonable value of, and then it says 38 U.S.C. 1509A 1976. However, Congress subsequently removed that provision from the authorizing statute. The current statute provides any pertinent part that the Secretary may provide vocational and other training services and assistance, including individualized tutorial assistance, tuition fees, book supplies, handling charges, licensing fees, and equipment, and other training materials deemed by the Secretary to be necessary to accomplish the purpose of the rehabilitation program in the individual case. There is no longer a statutory provision that permits VA to require the return or repayment of books, supplies, or equipment when the veteran fails to complete a course of vocational rehabilitation because of fault on the veteran's part. So it continues on, but I think we're kind of beating the dead horse at this point. So it goes on for quite a long time, actually. So I'm going to spare you and just let you know that the VA, if you are enrolled in VRNE, has no authority to take any sort of repayment from you for training or rehabilitation supplies, and that's important to note. And then also, if you were in a situation where you did have to pay back in the past, the question then is, when did Congress remove that statutory authority? So I would check in on that. All right, with that, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.